Hello, everyone. Morning to you all. Happy Thursday. I can see that people are just trickling into the room, so we'll get started in just a moment here. Okay. Hello, everyone. Great to see you all. Thank you so much for being here with us today for our first session of our Hand Dexterity Series 2021. Before we get started today, I wanted to let you guys know the different equipment that you're going to be needing today. So in the course advertisement on our website, we did have a couple of things listed. So I just wanted to go over them again in case anybody missed them. So you're going to be needing a tea towel. I'll just move back so you can see. So I've got a tea towel here, a kitchen towel, something small. So definitely don't use a bath towel, too big. But go for like a tea towel or something small, maybe a face cloth, something like that. We're going to be using today. You're also going to be needing a little cushion. So you can see this is just for my couch, something small, a pillow of some sort, as long as it's not too big, that would be great. So something small that you can use. And you will also need some lined paper today. So if you don't have lined paper today, not a big deal. We're going to do a little bit of writing practice at the end today, but you can always get it ready for next time if you don't have it. But basically, I've got just normal lined pieces of paper. And what I've done here is I've drawn margins. So I kind of just group the margins together. So you can see that there's 4 lines in one kind of big margin. I put little dashed lines in the middle. It's just for us to practice our handwriting today. So ideally, if you draw the margins in with a marker, something that's easier for you to see, that would be great. And then when we're actually doing the writing practice later on in the session, you can just use a pen, a pencil, whatever you've got at home, but you're using a normal lined piece of paper and you are drawing bigger margins. So I've basically grouped 4. You can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 lines as one giant line, pretty much. Okay, so paper with the giant margins, a tea towel, and a little cushion for today. Okay, well, let's get started. The session is recorded, so if anyone is missing any part of the class, don't worry, you can always watch it on our YouTube channel at a later date. For the duration of today's class, if you do have any questions or anything you would like to say, you're welcome to type in the chat box. I can see a couple of you already say good morning, but you're welcome to use the chat box to communicate with me today if you like. And I will answer those questions as we go along. Okay, well, let's get started. So I've got my screen a little bit lower. I'm just gonna move back. Whoops, let me move this down slightly. Okay, we're gonna get started with a bit of a warm up. So when you're sitting in your chair today, I want to make sure that you're sitting up nice and tall. So if I turn sideways for a second, I don't want to see anybody slouching or leaning back in the chair. We want to be sitting right at the edge of our seat, nice and tall. And the reason that's important is because anytime we're doing anything with the arms or hand, if you're in a closed down position, it really changes the way that your shoulders are positioned, changes the way your back is positioned, and then it kind of restricts your movement if you're always in this kind of position. So we want to be nice and tall, feet flat onto the floor, chest up. We're going to start with some shoulder rolls. We're going to lift those shoulders up and back. Just nice gentle rolls here, getting those shoulders up towards the ears and back as well. Rolling in a big circular motion, making sure we're not just going up and down, but we're also rolling them back, right? Because we're going for a circle, not an oval. So as we go on in the class, in this series, you'll notice that things get progressively harder. So they are meant to be challenging. Don't worry if you find anything is a little bit too tough for you, because you can always practice and review the recordings again on the YouTube channel. Because remember, practice makes progression. Okay, from here, we're going to add in the elbow. So we're now going to do some elbow circles. So imagine you're drawing big circles to the side, of your body, so onto your walls here. Drawing big circles with the elbows, making sure we're still sitting up nice and tall. We're not slouching back. Nicely done. And then we're going to do full arm circles all the way back as much as you can. Now, if you're someone with shoulder issues, you can go a little lower. That's okay. You don't have to go all the way if you find that your shoulders are a little sore. Now, you'll probably notice here, if you're sitting in a chair with arm rest, you got to be a bit careful not to hit the arm rest as you're doing the circle. So just be mindful of your positioning. You don't want anyone to get injured here in class. Good. Let's do 4 more here. We go 4, 3, 2, 1, and rest. Hands onto your lap. We're going to do the neck. So we're going to bring our chin down to our chest, and then we're going to roll the head sideways, and then roll it to the other side. So we're just doing the lower half of the circle at the moment. Nice and gentle. We're not cranking our neck all the way down, but we're just doing a nice gentle circle here, making sure that we're still sitting up nice and tall. Nobody is leaning back into your seats, and you're not slouching to the side. Don't lean on the head, on the armrest. You want to make sure that you are sitting up nice and tall. And then we're going to take the circle up and over this time. So all the way back and down. Nice and gentle. Take your time here. Don't want anyone to injure themselves. We're just getting some movement into our upper body here. We'll do 1 more here. And then we're gonna reverse the direction, other way. So nice and gentle again. No need to do this fast. We're just going at a comfortable pace here. Make sure it's a circle, not an oval. Good. And let's rest there. We're going to float those arms up in front of us, and then we're going to do a wide row. So you're going to pull those elbows back, squeeze the shoulder blades together, open the chest, and bring them forward. So from the side, squeeze the shoulder blades together, opening the chest and forward. We're sitting up nice and tall. We're not slouching. We're keeping our shoulders away from the ears. Now you'll see that I'm sitting on a wheelie chair. Ideally, when you're at home, you shouldn't be on a wheelie chair like me. Hopefully you're in a more sturdy chair, but I've got the wheelie chair today, so it's easier for me to turn sideways and show you what's going on here. Nice wide elbows as you squeeze those shoulder blades together, almost like you got a pencil between the shoulder blades and you're trying to crush it. Good. 1 more. And then we're going to flip the palms up. This time, we're going to squeeze the elbows back behind us towards our ribs and squeeze the shoulder blades together and then release. So exactly the same squeezing of the shoulder blades, just in a different position here. Imagine you're balancing a tray of drinks on each hand, so don't let the hand topple over. Pulling the elbows back behind you, opening the chest. Last 3. Last 2, sitting up tall. Last 1, and rest. Okay, we're gonna take our arm and we're gonna start at the shoulder here with our other hand, and we're gonna gently squeeze down the length of the arm just to wake up those nerve endings a little bit, wake up our arm, letting the brain know that our arm is here, letting it sense our touch here, squeezing from the top of the shoulder all the way down, and then back up again. Don't forget about the fingers or the thumb or the palm. Want to sensory load our nerves here before we get started. Nicely done. All the way down. Remember to get the wrist, the palm, the thumb, the fingers. Good. 1 last one. And then relax. Let's do the same thing on the other side. Arm up. We're going to take our other hand, start at the shoulder, squeezing all the way down the length of the arm. You don't have to do this fast necessarily. Just take your time on this. Just waking up the senses here. Don't forget about the fingers, the palm, the thumb. Like a massage. So remember to go down the entire length of the arm and back up again. Good, nicely done. And then we're going to relax. We're going to switch to our other arm again. This time, we're starting at the shoulder. We're doing little taps. Little taps all the way down the back of the arm. Don't forget the fingers, the hands, and all the way back up. Exactly the same thing. So we're not smacking the arm. We're doing light taps, light taps. And then we're going to flip it over to the other side. Same thing, light taps. No smacking, light taps. Just waking up those senses a little bit. Nicely done. And then we're going to switch sides. Same thing, tapping all the way down, starting from the shoulder. Light taps all the way to the back of the hand, to the fingers, and all the way back up. Doesn't have to be fast. You can go slow as well. It's up to you. Whatever works for you today. Just loading the senses here. And then we're going to flip the hand over and do the exact same thing on the inside of the arm. Light taps all the way to the palm, to the fingers, and all the way back up. Nicely done. And let's relax. We're going to grab those hands together. And then from here, you're going to try to draw a big figure of eight with those wrists. You don't have to grab too hard. You're just clasping those hands together. And then you're drawing figure of eight with the wrist, with the fist. Getting some rotation, getting some flexion and extension into those wrists before we get started. Nicely done. Oh, I think a couple of people just joined in. Hello. If you just joined in, you can get started with us here. We're just doing a little bit of warm up. Good. Let's do two more. And rest. Okay, let me come closer. So we're going to start. So by the way, I have a table in front of me. I know you can't see. So if you want, you can rest your arms on a table as we're doing the exercises today, or maybe on the arm rest if you have some. It's just so that way you don't have to hold up your arm for the entire hour. But of course, by all means, if you can, go for it. But if you feel like you need a little bit of support for your elbows so they don't get too tired, that's fine as well. I've got a table here that I'm using. Okay, so we are going to start by doing some squeeze with our fingers and hands into fists. And then we're just going to open them back up as wide as we possibly can. And then again, squeezing those hands together. And then we're opening as wide as we possibly can. So really feel the contrast in the movement here. It's kind of like our big and small exercise when we do it in standing. If anybody's done some of the other exercise classes, exactly the same, nice and small, and then nice and big. And when we're doing this wide position, you really want to make sure the hand is as open as possible, almost like you've got light coming out of each of the ends of the fingers, and you want them to point everywhere in the room like a disco ball. See if you can spread the fingers so wide that you get rid of those wrinkles on the palm. All those lines that we get on the palm, can we get rid of them? Maybe not quite, but you get what I mean. Nicely done. And just check in with yourself and check the symmetry you've got on either hand. Maybe you're finding one hand is a little stiffer than the other. Can you try to match it so it So it's the same widespread finger position as your other hand. We're going to do a few more here, and then we're going to kind of add on to this. So just take this moment to really practice opening the hand, opening the fingers, increasing the space between each of those fingers as much as you can. So don't let some of the fingers come in. You want to open them as wide as you can. Let's do one last one. Opening the hand as wide as you can. Imagine light coming out of the ends of each finger. And rest. Okay, I'm going to move back a little bit. We're going to add on. So this time, you're keeping your hands in your fists beside your armpits like so. So exactly the same. And we're going to push those arms forward, opening the fingers as wide as you can, flattening that palm. And then you're going to pull back and clench those fists again. So kind of like what we did just now, except we're adding in the arm movement. So from here, you're pushing forward, extend the elbows, open those fingers as wide as you possibly can. And then you're pulling back in. And again, big push. You're aiming for effort levels here. So we're not just going like this, but we're aiming to push something away from you. And then you're pulling something towards you. So from the side, we're not just doing this. We're doing a big push and a pull. Push, pull. So you're aiming for the effort levels here, really opening those fingers. Push and pull. Nicely done. Doesn't have to be fast. We're just doing nice, powerful, extended movements here, spreading those fingers as you push out. So imagine there's actually something in front of you that you're trying to push, and then something that you're trying to pull back towards you. Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining us. We've just gotten started, so you didn't miss much. Good, keep going. Pushing, spreading those fingers, and pulling. Good, let's do two more. Pushing, pulling. One more. Pushing, pulling. Good, and rest. Shake out those hands. It looks like it's an easy movement, but it gets quite tiring actually when you're trying to spread those fingers super wide. Okay, our next exercise, we're gonna hold our hands up like so. We're starting with the hand nice and wide again. So remember, we're not doing this. We're not letting them bend. We're trying to open them as wide as we can. Imagine your hand is up against a wall. So we don't want it to curve in. We want it to be nice and flat. From here, keeping the fingers open, we're going to touch the tip of the index finger to the thumb like so, without the other fingers doing this, right? We want to keep them open, keep them spread nice and wide, and then we're going to open the hand back up. And then we're going to now move on to our middle finger, touching our thumb without the other fingers coming in. We want to keep them wide. So imagine those rays of light shooting up all over the room. And then open back up. Good. Now we're doing the ring finger to the thumb without anything else curling in. And open. And then we're going to do the little finger to the thumb. And open. Good. And then again, from the beginning. Index finger to thumb. Don't let any of your fingers curl in. Keep the space between them. Keep them nice and extended. And open. Middle finger to thumb. Don't let any fingers curl in. And open. Now ring finger to thumb. Don't let the fingers curl in. And open. Little finger to thumb. Keep the other fingers open. Good. And again, from the beginning, exactly like that. Try not to let the fingers curl. Don't let them touch. Keep them nice and wide. Nicely done. Check in with yourself. Is your thumb constantly curled in? Keep them open. The movement should be very distinctive. You're trying not to let any of the other fingers move when it's not their turn to move. Of course, there will be some movement because your fingers are all attached. It's impossible to not have any movement. But the idea is you're trying to keep the finger movements separate from each other. So you can see why it's helpful having a table in front so you can rest your elbows on, because otherwise if you're like this the whole time, it might get tiring. But as we're talking about the position here of our hands, I want you to check in with yourself. Where are your shoulders? Are they like this up to your ears? If they are, can you drop them? And how are you sitting? Hopefully you're not slouching back. We're not leaning to the side. We're not curving our back and chest. We're sitting nice and tall, opening the chest. And again. You'll probably find that one side feels stiffer and slower than the other, and that's okay. Just pay a little more attention to that side and see if you can get it to be as open as possible. Keeping space between each of those fingers. Let's do one more. Keep the fingers nice and long when they're not touching the thumb, opening the hand back out in between each one. So don't let your fingers stay curled. Open them back out, including the thumb after each one. And shake it out. Good, nicely done. Okay, next one. We're going to have the hand nice and flat again, but this time all the fingers are stuck together. So imagine you're pressing your hands up against a shop window and you're peering inside the shop. You want to keep the hand flat. So if I turn it sideways, you can see that it's nice and flat. So I'm not doing this, I'm not curving in. I'm keeping everything flat. So almost like I press them up against a window. Now, keeping the palms flat, don't let the thumbs come in, keep them flat and the fingers long. We're going to open all of the fingers, keeping everything flat. So from the side, you can see I'm not doing this. And we're closing again. Nice and flat with the palm. So almost like if you press your hands against the window and you're now smearing the window and spreading the hand on the window. That's kind of the idea you want, nice and flat. So this is not the same as what we did a second ago where we opened this way. This time we're opening sideways. Does that kind of make sense? We're gliding our fingers along that window. If this is really hard for you to do freehand, what you can do is you can place your hands on the table and you can spread the hand. Oops, you can't see. I'll just do one hand so you can see better. Place the hand onto a surface and you can actually spread those fingers out. So you can see this movement is not the same as what we did when we opened sort of forward. You're opening horizontally to the side. Although I guess when you have your hand up, it's not horizontal, but you get what I mean. You're flattening the hand and then you're opening the hand, but still imagining you're pressing them up against something like a window, a wall, a door, whatever you have it, like you're drawing snow angels, but with your fingers. Let's do one more. Okay, coming back to our starting position, we're now going to do one finger at a time. So our hand is nice and flat. Imagine it's pressed up against a window. We're going to open our first web space like so without curling in. So you want it to be nice and flat. So imagine that window, nice and flat. You're pressing your hand against the window, nice and flat, and then coming back in. Then we're going to move the second space now, sliding it open without curling in, keep it flat. Notice how all my other fingers are stuck together and close. Now we're moving on to the next space, the space between your middle finger and your ring finger without anything spreading open. You want to keep it flat. Don't let it curve in. Don't let it do this. Nice and flat against the window and close. And then the final space here without the fingers curling in. You're thinking about the flatness of the surface. You're sliding along and back in. And then same thing from the beginning. Now, if you're finding this really tough and you find that you're curving your fingers and you just can't quite get the movement of squeezing the non-moving fingers together, what you can do is you can do this on a surface as well. So you can press it against a table and you can do the same thing. So now, because you have the support of the table, your hand is no longer curving in, right? Because we got the support of the table here. And it's like you're sliding you're sliding along on the table here. So this might be an easier alternative if you're finding the freehand version. If you're finding the freehand version really difficult, you can try that as well. But the most important thing here is we're not curving our hand or our palm, because we're working some very specific muscles here that are keeping your fingers straight, pretty much, that basically open the hand out in that fashion versus that fashion, if that makes sense. Oh, I've just reversed it here. Whoops. Okay, ignore that last one. You're going from the thumb to the ring, to the little finger. Getting carried away here and doing exercises we're going to do next week. So think about the palm and the hand being nice and flat as you can. You don't have to do it fast. By all means, do it slow, but you're thinking about, it's like you're pressing your hand against a shop window here. And again, you'll probably notice that one side feels a little stiffer and a little more rigid than the other, and that's okay. Just concentrate a little bit more on that given side and see if you can get it to match the symmetry on the other side. How are we doing? Do we hate this one yet? This one looks easy, but it's actually pretty tough when you're doing it right. So when you're having the hand completely flat and completely straight, it's actually pretty tough. Let's do one more and then we'll shake it up. One more. And then we'll give your hand a little bit of a rest. Okay, and whenever you're done, you can open and close your fist a couple of times, shake out the hands, maybe give yourself a little bit of a massage, rub your hands, whatever you need to do to stretch out any cramps you might be now getting from those little muscles we've been using. Okay, our next one, we're gonna take our tea towel. So you can see my tea towel is pretty small, so don't use a bath towel by all means, way too big. You want something small and relatively thin. Okay. Now, I'm going to hold on to the corner. So you can see the corner of the towel. I'm going to hold on with one hand. Doesn't matter what hand, because we're going to do both anyway. But you're going to hold on to the corner. Keep your palm facing down. So don't hold it like this or like this. You want to keep your palm down. So almost like you're holding on to the edge of it and you're like, oh, don't want to touch the whole thing. That kind of idea. So you're holding on to the edge with the palm facing down, then using your fingers only, you're going to try to scrunch the towel into your palm here without the hand turning. You want to try to keep the fingers facing down because they'll make it slightly more challenging since gravity is kind of pulling the towel out of reach here. And you're trying to ball up the towel as much as you can into as small of a ball as you can. Then when you can't go anymore, you're going to hold on to an edge and just shake it back out, and we're going to repeat. So scrunching up, palm facing down, using your fingers to try to pull the towel in. So I don't know if you can see, but for me, for what I find easier is I use my thumb to hold the fabric in, and then I open my fingers and I grab more and pull in. So it's kind of like your fingers and your thumb are working in opposition to each other. One holds, one pulls, and that kind of idea, but you don't have to. It's up to you. Whatever version works for you is fine. Now, if this is really tough, you can also place your hand against something like a shirt, a hip, and scrunch up this way. That might be slightly easier, or equally on a table, you might want to scrunch this way if you find it's easier. If you find the freehand version really tough, then perhaps you want to start somewhere here where you put it on the table, start in the middle, and you scrunch up from the middle using all your fingers. Don't let any fingers get stuck. So I think we tend to do this movement, and then there's always one finger that's a little stuck, and then we end up doing this with only two fingers or one finger that's moving, and the rest are kind of stuck. So we want to make sure you're moving all the fingers, and we're not just getting one finger stuck and we're all fingers stuck and only moving with a few fingers. We want all of the fingers to move as much as they can. And of course, whenever you can't scrunch up anymore, you can shake it out and repeat. So you can see for this reason that using a bath towel will be really difficult because you've got so much fabric to scrunch, but also because bath towels tend to be a lot thicker, you can barely scrunch anything and your hands fold. So ideally, the smaller the towel that you're using, the better. So I'm using like a little cloth, like a tea towel would be the best. So remember, if you feel like you can't scrunch the towel freehand like this, you can put it on a table, put it against your hip or whatever, and then scrunch up. That's absolutely fine as well. You're trying to get all the fingers moving. And then remember to shake it out when you can't do it anymore. How are we doing? Do we also hate this one? So remember, as you're scrunching, if you're doing a freehand, try not to do this. Try not to turn the hand and let gravity help with pulling the towel in. You want to keep the fingers, the palm facing down, so that way gravity is always kind of pulling the towel away from you to make it slightly more challenging. But of course, if it's impossible and you still want to challenge you doing a freehand, by all means, if you want to turn, you can, as long as we're not throwing and trying to catch it into our hand. So we do have to make it a scrunch motion, right? Not a toss and then a catch motion. Okay, let's switch sides. Let's switch hands. Give our hand a rest. You can shake out that hand, open it, close it a few times if you like. And then we're going to do the same on the other side now. So just like before, we're starting in a corner, keeping your palm facing down. And you're going to use your fingers, not just two fingers, all your fingers. And you're going to try to scrunch this towel into your fist as small as you possibly can. And then when you can't go anymore, you can shake it out. And then we're going to do the same again. So just like before, if you can't, you can do it on your shirt if you find it easier, or the table. If you need support, that's okay. You don't have to do it freehand, but if you would like a challenge and you're able to do it freehand, please feel free and try that. Again, this movement looks pretty easy, but when you're actually doing it, it's pretty tough. You can probably feel your hand and your palm feeling sore already. If you need a break, you're welcome to take a break. So remember, don't let any of your fingers get stuck. You want to try to use all your fingers if you can. Or equally on the table, exactly the same thing. So hand in the middle. And then we spread it out and do the same thing. So if you need support, you're welcome to do it this way, as long as all your fingers are still moving and we're not ending up doing this or this, only two fingers, but you want all of them moving together. So whatever version works for you, whether it's a freehand version, or you're using the table or your body to help support you, that's okay as well. Whatever works for you. So you can probably imagine, the smaller the towel, the easier. Let's do one last one on this side, and then we'll put it away and do something else. Remember, if you're doing it freehand, try to keep your palm facing down. Try not to turn the hand too much. And relax. Whenever you're done with that one, you can put it aside. Okay, we're gonna give our small fingers of the hand a little bit of a rest and go back to the arms. We're gonna take our cushion. You're gonna hold on either side of the cushion and you're gonna extend the elbow. So my arms are straight. From here, keep your arms straight. Imagine you've got no elbows, you just got long arms. I want you to imagine the cushion you're holding onto is a steering wheel. And you are going to keep the arms straight and you're gonna rotate side to side like this. So from the side, keeping my arms straight, I'm rotating side to side. Don't let your arms do this. Keep them up at 90 degrees. Keep the elbows completely straight as long as you can. And you're gonna rotate the cushion like so. So we're working into our shoulders a bit here. You should feel it in your shoulders pretty quickly. We're keeping the arms completely straight. Don't let yourself do this. If we're doing this, you're not working the right area. Keep the arms nice and straight, almost like you're putting it against a wall and you're kind of gliding it against the wall. Maybe if I turn sideways, it's better so you can see. Otherwise, if I'm facing you, all you see is the cushion. So keep the elbows straight. Don't let yourself do this. Straighten the elbows, rotating that cushion. Working on those rotator cuff muscles in the shoulder. Keep rotating. Nicely done. We're gonna go for another 10, 9, 8, shoulders away from the ears, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Keep the arms straight. This time, after we rotate, we're gonna squeeze the pillow together. So we're gonna rotate and squeeze, rotate and squeeze. Keeping the elbows still nice and long, rotate and squeeze like you're crushing the cushion. Rotate and squeeze. Keep the elbows nice and straight if you can. Last 10, 9, elbows straight, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, shoulders away from the ears, 3, 2, 1, and rest. Shake out those shoulders. Nicely done. Okay, keep holding your cushion. We're now coming back to the table with the cushion. We are going to hold the bottom edges of the cushion. Now, if your cushion is not a square like mine, that's okay. Just hold on to the bottom of it, wherever that is. If it's a circle, just the bottom quarters of it, like so. And then what we're going to do here, so we're holding on like this. Your fingers are long, so like that. Your fingers are long when you're holding on to it, so don't let the fingers curl in. You're keeping them long. Holding the bottom. From here, you are going to, the movement is, you're going to open and grab again. So we're opening and grabbing, but not like this, in that long position. And what we're going to do is we're going to open and grab the top of the cushion. Let me move back. So you're essentially letting the cushion fall, and then you're grabbing the top. So if you look at this hand, so it's like you're using that long grip. Open, let the cushions fall, and then you grab hold of the top. Except you're doing it on both sides. So try not to do this. Long, aim for long fingers, and then you reset. Long. So different grip we're working on here. Keep the fingers long. We're not doing this. Keeping the fingers as long as you can, including the thumb. Don't let the thumb curl in. Everything long. How are you doing with this one? Check in with yourself. Are your shoulders like this? If they are, press me down. Are we sitting up tall or are we going like this? Keep your back straight. Hopefully you're not leaning back into the chair. Your back should be far away from the chair. Let's do 5 more here. So in your own time, we'll do 5 more and then we'll put the cushion away. Remember, keep those fingers long. Don't let the hand curl, keep them long. Okay, whenever you are done your 5, you're gonna put your cushion away. Okay, we are now going to practice our handwriting. So for people who join in late, I mentioned at the beginning, you are using normal lined pieces of paper, except instead of doing the little lines, we are drawing larger margins. So you can see I've got 4 rows as one giant row, and I put little dash lines in the middle to help us with this. So we're thinking about this handwriting exercise much like an amplitude exercise in any of our other exercise classes. I'll just turn my laptop down so you can see. So you can see that's my, this is my paper. Now, in a moment, when I do some writing practice, it's going to be upside down for you, unfortunately, but you'll get the idea. So it's hard for me to write upside down, but you'll get the idea. So you can see here, this is my first margin, right? So you can see that's the top of the margin, that's the bottom of the margin, and that's the middle dash lines. So we're going to start today by practicing capital letters of the alphabet. So we're going to start writing. Maybe let me use a thicker pen, sorry. Just, I'm thinking that it might be easier for you to see if I use like a highlighter, because otherwise the pen might be too small. Okay, so here I'm writing the letter A. Can you see that? And every time I write a letter, I'm going to get it to touch the top and the bottom margins. So you're thinking about going slow here. We're not going for as fast as we can. We're going slow. And the aim here is you're touching the top and the bottom margins at all times. So always touch the top and the bottom. Don't let yourself right in the middle. You're going for as big as you can here, touching the entire margin as you do your capital letters all the way down the page. Maybe I'll use my pen again in case this is hard to see. Oh yeah, I think the pen is better. Okay. So we're touching the margins here. I know this is upside down for you. Maybe I'll try writing upside down. Hang on. So you can see here, I've got A to J here. And I'm touching the top and the bottom margin as I go along. I'm going slow, so I'm not trying to go as fast as I can. I'm going slow, and the aim is you're touching the margins at all times. Think of it like an amplitude exercise. So the writing here might look horrible because I'm doing upside down, but you get the idea. Trying to touch the top and the bottom of the margins. And we're doing capital letters right now. So no cursive, we're not doing small letters. I think I drew the end upside down, but that's okay. So go nice and slow. You can see that I'm touching all the margins here. The middle line is for you to touch the margins off when you have letter that cross the middle, like R or the H or the G or the E. So anything that crosses the middle or the B, that's what that's for there. Hopefully you can see, I know this is the camera's on a bit of a slant. Maybe if I put something up like this, so it's a little higher at the top, maybe that would be slightly easier. Maybe if I use, actually, yeah, let's just keep going this way. Otherwise, I'll make it too confusing. But you can see why it's important to have lined pieces of paper, because then you can make the margins bigger to start with. And then eventually we can make the margins smaller, or do growing lines or shrinking lines and those kind of things, which you'll see in the future classes in this series. Okay. So make sure you're always touching the margin. If you didn't, do it again. Don't let your letters be like that. Can you see? Don't let it do this. You want to touch the margin. Touch the entire margin, the top and the bottom. Once you've done the entire alphabet, start again. We're only doing capital letters today. We're not doing cursive. We're not doing small letters. Aim for capital letters, and you're trying to touch the top and the bottom margin. If you feel like you want to try faster, you're welcome to, but you must touch the top and the bottom margins at all times. If you're starting to do this, then you need to go slower, because you need the margins to be hit every time, okay? You're going for big letters here. So you're welcome to go faster, as long as your writing is not going to deteriorate here. You want to make the letters still nice and big, touching all the margins. How are we doing? I know my writing's not the best right now, and the letters are looking a little asymmetrical, but that's okay. You get the idea. The upside down writing is actually not as bad as I thought. You're touching all the margins. Block letters, large letters. Don't go for cursive right now. Don't go for the little letters. Go for big letters, aiming for the margin. So remember, the margin I'm using is I've got 4 lines. Can you see 1, 2, 3, 4? I've got 4 rows acting as one giant row. I think my pen's running out here. So it's a good idea that when you're drawing those margins, the rows, you're using a darker marker. So I've got a blue marker marking mine, because if you're using a pen or a pencil, you might not actually be able to see the margins very well. You want to make the margins as obvious as possible when you're doing this practice. So you definitely want to make sure you're using a big marker or slightly darker marker so you can see it. So you might find that you're starting to feel like this is a little easier, and you can by all means go a little faster, as long as you're still touching the margins, right? Because if it's becoming really small, doesn't count. You got to go slower. So you can go faster as long as you're still touching the margins, right? Does that kind of make sense? So wherever you are, finish off the alphabet. Whenever you're done, we can put the pen away and we will do some stretches to finish, but you can see the idea is you've got larger margins, right? So instead of using one tiny row, you put 4 rows together. You put 1, 2, 3, 4 rows together into one large row, and then you're using those lines, the margins here, to make the letters as big as possible. So we only did capital block letters today. Don't do anything else. We're just doing the capital block letters today. So I think I see a question here. Where can I get a book of lined sheets? Well, this one is from Staples, but you can get it anywhere. You can get it at the dollar store even, in their stationery section. You can get it from Superstore, Walmart, anywhere at all London Drugs even. So anywhere that has, cards and any pen stationery, they will tend to have notebooks with lined paper. Doesn't have to be big like mine. And even if it's a small notebook, that's okay, as long as it's got lines, and then you can make them into bigger margins. That's fine. So you can see here, I did the alphabet 3 times today. Exactly the same thing. You're trying to make the margins as big as you can. And then as you're writing, you're touching the top and the bottom margin. So don't let your writing get small. You want to always make sure you're touching the top and the bottom margins at all times. Kind of make sense? Okay, so you can put that away. And let's just do a little bit of stretch to finish. I'm just going to move some of these things aside. Oh, there's a question here, I think. There are whiteboards that one can use. Yes, that have this large spacing already. Absolutely. So those whiteboards, you can absolutely use them. So the most important thing is whatever you're using, you need to have lines, okay? So don't go for a blank piece of paper with no lines, because you need the visual targets to help you to start practicing those handwriting skills. If you have a blank piece of paper, what's going to happen is you'll start writing real big, and then it's going to get smaller and taper off at the end. Whereas if you have lines that you can use, whether they're small lines or not, doesn't matter, because if they're small lines, you can just make all the small lines converge into a giant line. So you can create a big line using a bunch of small lines together, and that way you can write using the margins there. Okay, sitting up nice and tall in our chair, we're going to lean back into the chair this time. Place our hands behind our head, and we're going to lean up and over the chair to stretch our back, open up the shoulders, and then come back. Relax the arm again. We're going to do that 2 more times. Open the arm, lean back into the chair, go up and over the back of the chair here, opening the chest, opening the back, looking at the ceiling, and then relaxing again. 1 more, same thing. Hands up, lean back into the chair, up and over the chair, stretching the back, opening the chest, and relax. Place our hands together like so. We're going to bring the elbows out to the side. So we're stretching our wrist here, almost like a prayer position, shoulders away from the ears. And then we release again, elbows back down. Same thing again, elbows to the side as we slide the hands down towards our breastbone to stretch the wrist. And then we release again. We're going to go back of the hand together, elbows up, back of the hand. And then we're going to bring those elbows down, wrists up, so you can stretch the wrist. You'll feel a stretch on this side of the wrist. And lower down again to release. And then we're going to do the same thing, stretching the wrist. And then release. Take your hand, we're going to stretch those fingers out. You can see that this movement is not the same as this movement. So I'm not stretching the wrist. I'm keeping everything still up until the knuckles, and I'm just stretching from the knuckles onwards. Can you see? So I'm not doing this, but I'm stretching from the knuckles onwards to stretch those fingers here. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Keep your hand nice and flat. Don't move the wrist. Keep the wrist still just on the knuckles. We're going to stretch those fingers back. You see that? So we're not doing this, stretching the fingers back from the knuckles. Okay, we're gonna bend our elbow here, taking our hand, we're gonna grab hold of the wrist and we're gonna rotate. We're gonna rotate the palm towards the screen as far as you can. So we're rotating as far as you can, holding for 3, 2, 1, release. Now we're gonna go palm towards ourselves, rotating as much as you can. Make sure your elbow's bent, because if your arm is straight, this movement is from the shoulder, not from the forearm. Holding 3, 2, 1, and release. Same to the other side. Bend the elbow. We're going to turn the palm towards the camera. Use your other hand to help you with that rotation. Hold it. 3, 2, 1. Bring the palm the other way. Rotate the arm. Holding. 3, 2, 1, and release. We're going to take our hand, touch the outside of the opposite knee. Oops. Touch the outside of the opposite knee. Then the other hand's going to wrap around the chair. Use your arms. You're going to twist yourself around in a rotation like you're looking at the back wall. And then release. Same to the other side. Take your hand, reach the outside of the opposite knee. Then the other hand's going to grab hold of the chair, sitting tall, twisting yourself right around to look at the back wall. Don't let yourself slouch, sitting up nice and tall. And then release. And you are done. That's it. You did it. Class 1 of our series for the hand and dexterity class. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope your hands are feeling a bit tired. You might feel a bit sore tomorrow, but that's okay. If you want to practice any of the things that we worked on today, the video recording of the session will be uploaded onto our Parkinson Society YouTube channel. Hopefully by the middle of next week, but we'll see. Depends on how busy the marketing team is. But I'm going to type in here in the chat box. You can see Parkinson Society BC all in one word, and that's our YouTube channel profile. That's our name on YouTube. So if you like, you can go onto YouTube and search Parkinson Society BC all in one word, and you'll see our videos uploaded from other types of exercise classes that we have, or even the Hand and Dexterity series from last year, if you want to have a look at that as well. Okay. I think someone wrote something here. Oh, okay. So the board that Heather was talking about is called Write and Wipe Manuscript Exercise Board. Great, thank you. Excellent. Okay. Well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the class. I will see you again next week. So if you don't have equipment from this week, don't worry, we're using the same thing next week. So pretty much you just need a kitchen towel. So I've got like a tea towel. So remember, not a bath towel, too big. You want something small. And I have a small cushion. And then other than that, you're getting paper with lines on them. And then you want to make sure that in preparation for next class, you draw margins. So don't imagine this doesn't have writing on it, but the blue lines, that's what you want to draw for next class. So you can see I've got 4 little lines in one giant line. You see that? 4 little lines in one giant blue line. That's what you want. 4 lines as one big line. So if you don't have that, get some lined paper from the dollar store, from Walmart, wherever is near you, and then make sure you have the margins drawn out before next class. It'll just make things easier, so that way you don't have to rush and try to draw the margins in the middle of the class, but you'll have it all ready for next time. Great. Okay, well, that's it. Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us, and I'll see you next week. Bye.